Welcome to the very first Political Matrix News of 2025. I'm Rob Milford in Orlando. Scott Miller scratching his head going, is it 2025 already? And he is in Pensacola, and Greg Fink is holding down his living room in Gainesville as we do this on Tuesday, the 7th of January. I just want to get this straight for the record as we start off. Since June the 27th, Donald Trump has beaten the President of the United States, Joe Biden, has beaten the Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, in the election in November, and as of yesterday, beat the Prime Minister of Canada. That's really amazing. He's taken over two countries in 6 months and 10 days. Freaking Hitler had trouble doing that, and he had a 3 million man army.
We got Greenland next.
Yeah,
go for Greenland next.
And okay, but yeah, I've been, by the way, I think people need a little education on history. Don't you,
Mm-hmm.
Scott?
Oh, well, well
Scott?
yeah, absolutely. But what are you talking about? I mean, I
Well,
absolutely
Scott,
without even knowing what you're
Narrow
talking
down
about. I
some.
agree with you.
All right. Well, Scott, what did we buy from France, say 1802, 1803? Thomas Jefferson was president. What did he buy from France?
I believe that would be called the Louisiana Purchase.
That is correct. What did William Seward, the Secretary of State, buy from Russia, Greg Fink, and right after the Civil War, spent about $7 million. And what did he buy?
Alaska?
There you go. And there are a couple other minor purchases in
Seward's
no particular
Folly, as I remember.
Yeah, that's 6 cents an acre, I think, is what it was, and it was millions of. Anyway, and then somewhere in the 1800s as well, we bought a piece of land across what is now the southwestern border, New Mexico and Arizona. That's known as the Gadsden Purchase. I'm not really sure why it had to be purchased. I guess maybe they were evening up the lines or something. After World War I, when there was a complete strategic changing between the Spanish-American War and World War I, that really upset the territorial apple cart and worldwide. And the U.S. went to Denmark and cut them a check. What did we buy from Denmark? Let's just say after World War I, between Spanish-American War, World War I. You know what we bought from Denmark? Anybody?
I'm
Bueller?
actually unfamiliar with that.
Go ahead.
You are. What did we buy?
I don't know.
You're not.
No,
I thought.
I'm unfamiliar. Yeah.
Okay, let me try this. The Virgin Islands from Denmark.
Right.
We got Guam. We got Guam from Spain. We got the Philippines from Spain. We got got Cuba from Spain because of the Spanish-American War.
Right.
But we didn't keep them, except the Philippines were sort of a territory. So what we're talking about now is Greenland purchased, made a U.S. territory, exactly like the Virgin Islands, and Guam, still a U.S. territory.
Absolutely.
And
Puerto Rico.
60,000 people. Pretty much the exact population of the city of Pensacola is the entire population of the island of Greenland.
Really?
So
Wow.
just keeping that in mind, we already have a U.S. Air Force base that when Greg Fink was in the United States Air Force, they threatened to send him there.
No, they did not.
He got his act together.
No.
Yes,
Greg Fink. That was not this Greg Fink.
It was there. No.
This Greg Fink went wherever he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why they changed the name from Thule Air Force Base. It's in far northwest Greenland,
Right.
and it is. I've know two people that have actually done a tour there. It's 1 year. It's unaccompanied, and depending on when you go, you could get the first. You go in November, you get 4 months of darkness, and then the sun comes up. Doesn't go back down for 6 months. I mean,
Right.
it is the northern. I'm not sure if Russia has a base that far north, but buying Greenland would be one hell of a deal. Denmark's already in NATO.
Yes.
I'm good with I'm good with all that, man. And today in the news conference down at in Palm Beach at Mar-a-Lago, he said, I think we're going to change the name to the Gulf of America, since Pensacola fronts the Gulf of what is now Mexico, the Gulf of America. And you know what? Hell yes. What do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea.
I like it too. I was literally just talking about that. I mean, although apparently, my girlfriend told me that Mexico actually has about another 100 miles more of coastline on the Gulf of Mexico than we do.
No.
Apparently.
We can buy it. PMN domain it.
But
I'm gonna have to reference that one.
We got far more population than they do on the Gulf. So
yeah, we're gonna get the Panama Canal back as well, so that might make up the difference.
Yeah, right.
When we take the Panama Canal back, which we lost in the 70s.
We didn't lose anything. We gave it away.
I know.
For $1.
I'm not even sure if that's accurate. I'm really not.
Well, I am quite sure that it was sold back to Panama for $1 by Carter, I believe.
That is correct. He signed the treaty. It gave Panama 20 years to do the slow turnover, to train everybody, to get the U.S. facilities out of there. We had an Air Force base and a major Army base that were there simply to protect the Panama Canal.
The
jungle warfare school is there, and that's it.
Hey, when you get a real estate developer as a president, these are the kind of ideas you get. Hey, let's get some land.
And he actually has cooperation with the idea this time, as opposed to back in 2016 when he got elected. He had all the pushback from everybody. It seems like people are wanting to work with him this time around.
All of a sudden,
go figure.
Yeah, right. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it does kind of make a little bit of sense that if we're going to be expending such enormous resources protecting all these people, that that we ought to have a more intimate relationship with them.
And people don't realize the border issue is more than just just deporting people. It's protecting the entire region. I mean, it's protecting us from the cartels and the drugs and all the gangs and all the violence and everything that comes along with it. It's not just deporting people, everything else.
Okay, it's pretty close. Mexico has 1,743 miles, 63 miles more than the United States has. That is amazing. 63 miles. We've got 1,680 miles, and that's all the way from Brownsville, Texas, around to Key West. And it really shocks me when you look at it. You almost have to turn your phone sideways to go, oh, yeah, I see how they got that. But that's very good. So that's 3,400 and something miles for the entire coastline of the Gulf.
Like you, I was insisting that we had more, and then my girl had to straighten me out. So
well, I'm glad that your make-believe girlfriend has gotten us all squared away. And the other thing about it yesterday, Friday when they swore in the new Congress and they voted for a new speaker, and then Monday when they voted, they read the votes on who the president was, and
boy, that was delightful, wasn't it?
It was, especially Kamala Harris doing it. But I think that what got, I'm sure, was this Friday? It had to be Friday. What got the most applause was when they announced that Matt Gaetz was not in Congress. That got a huge round of applause.
I know, right?
Yeah. I feel, think about this. Who are we going to kick around anymore?
He has a TV show. We can still do it.
Oh, well,
okay.
No, I don't care about media personalities. He is a media personality. I can care less.
I know.
And trust me, there will be plenty of great people to replace him as far as kicking, whipping boys.
How's he, speaking of replacing him, Scott, you're actually boots in the ground, literally. Probably have ground on your boots right now, and you've got them up on the coffee table. Where are we at in the race for the 1st Congressional District? The primary is January the what?
28.
28. Yeah.
So it is 3 weeks.
It is rapidly upcoming. Last night we had there was a nice event that I went to over at the Eglin Air Force Base golf course in Niceville. And and all but one of the candidates was there, and I think it was John Mills was the one that was missing.
Right.
No loss.
Yeah, no loss. Yeah, but I'll tell you that they all really accounted for themselves well. I mean, there were a couple of cringy moments, but not all these people are used to speaking in public very well. So
they better get used to it. I mean, you
well,
know.
but you know what? I can relate. When I ran, the very first time I had to step on a stage in front of a crowd of people and start talking, I mean, I had stage fright to start with. I had to compel myself to get up there in front of a group of people and just start talking.
Yeah.
You paid your money because you wanted to be elected. So here we go. This is where putting your mouth where your money is. See how that works?
For sure. For sure.
So
anybody, $1,000, you got to be prepared to speak.
Anybody really stand out?
Well, I mean, you know, as far as I'm biased because I'm representing, but I mean, Merck did very well. Greg Merck did extremely well. He was the one that had the most detail about the things that he was that he was for and against, and he had a couple of things that went counterflow to what everyone was what everyone was agreeing to. Like, they had a special portion of the thing where they would ask a question and then everyone could raise their hand if they were for it or against it. So they could kind of, in the interest of time, cover a lot of subject matter. And that's what they did with him. And there were a couple of things that were separate from people, but that's the thing. He wasn't ashamed of the things that he was questioning.
Right.
One of the interesting premises they popped out was that if I don't even remember exactly what it was. It was something to the effect of if Trump had a policy about doing, put forward a policy to do something. I think it was like, it was rescheduling marijuana from Schedule 1. Yeah,
okay.
They didn't actually even say it right. It was all I could do to stay in my seat and not correct them because it would have been unseemly for one of the campaign staff to correct them. But they were talking about, medical marijuana. If Donald Trump did it, promoted it a certain way, would everyone support him? And everyone was like, reluctant to raise their hands. And, Greg's position was basically, until I see what he's proposing exactly, it sounds like it might be a good idea now, but until I see what he's actually proposing, it's hard for me to say, yes, I will absolutely do what he says. Because just because Donald Trump says it, doesn't automatically mean we have to agree with. Donald Trump may do some things that we don't agree with, like put oil rigs off, right off the shore of Pensacola.
And where would those be off the shore of Pensacola? Where would those be? In the
Gulf of America.
There you go. And by the way, Joe Biden closed off that territory. If memory serves me, it is from the Alabama state line with Florida all the way east. They talk about 6 million acres or whatever it was.
Right,
we'll get to that in a second. By the way, this just popped in. Sherry Myers, the gadfly of many, many years on the Pensacola City Council. Women for Responsible Legislation, Congressional Forum. It would be Friday at 10:30 at the downtown Pensacola Library this Friday, the 10th. So you want me to send that to you?
Yes, please.
Yes. I will. Anywho, so there is that. Yeah, Biden doing that. You talk about a smack upside the head, because that eliminates, the Destin drilling in the Destin Dome. And the Destin Dome, if you don't know what that is, sits offshore from Destin, Florida. And I believe it's about 20 miles out, 20 to 25 is the nearest to the shore. And it is it's a big old mess of natural gas. How much, you may ask? How about it can power the entire United States for several years? Years. That's everybody in the U.S. Natural gas from your Bic lighter all the way to your water heater and all of the garbage trucks and FedEx trucks that are now running on natural gas for years, maybe decades. But they haven't had a chance to get down there. They know it's there. But it's a horrible place to drill because that's the Air Force missile range, and natural gas wells and Air Force missiles and bombs really don't mix well. And God forbid you pop something and it washes up on the shore. That's what they're waiting on. And I heard this a decade ago. They're waiting on slant drilling so they can set up a rig onshore, stick the pipe straight south and go into the dome that way. And if that happens, that's all going to be underground anyway. You'll never see it. But we'll see how that goes. All right.
I will say this. Today, I read a very interesting little opinion piece by, I want to say it was Hugh Hewitt. And he had a very intriguing idea for what we should do going for the next 2 weeks while we're waiting for Biden. And that's basically to make it very clear that we are going to investigate, that after Biden's out, we're going to subpoena him to come back in front of Congress and explain all these last-minute actions. And if he can't articulately do it, then we'll, compel some sort of medical examination and then make them show us exactly who's been running the country for the last 6 months. At the very least, undo all the things that he's done for the last few months because he's not competent to do them.
No, he's not. Trump had, as I said, major news conference in Mar-a-Lago, I think about 90 minutes worth. It was a tour de force, which is French for kicked ass, took names, holy mackerel. And this is, that was where the Gulf of America line came up. And he talked about how terrible the windmills were because they're incredibly polluting. And a windmill, one of those big wind turbines, works for its entire life, 10, 20 years, whatever. It never creates as much energy as it took to make the pylon and all the stuff on the inside and all the carbon fiber, which, by the way, you cannot recycle, boys and girls. So this one really stuck with me. The President Biden regime is now selling off or has sold off all of the remainder elements, the panels and the rebar and the concrete and the steel.
They got an injunction on that.
Okay,
they stopped it.
They've stopped it now, but some has already been sold for like 5 cents on the dollar.
Absolutely.
The person who did that contacted the incoming Trump administration and named their price, which was $2 on the dollar. And Trump said, you bet, good deal. And you know why? Because the stuff is already in place. All he has to do is say, get to work, go there, start cranking. And he said, we asked the Border Patrol what they wanted, and they designed it. They said, this is what will work. And so far, where there is a wall, it works. I'm looking forward to that inauguration speech where all you have to do is stand up and say, close the border and drill, baby, drill. The end. See ya. Got to get to work. Got to get to work.
I will say this. I read an article a week or so ago that they are trying to unwind that deal. I mean, he may have told that guy tentatively that, we'll do that. But there was some bad faith on Biden's, on the U.S. government's part that may allow them to unwind that deal. So that would be fantastic.
Yeah, you're watching the Political Matrix News, by the way. Rob Milford, Greg Fink, Scott Miller. And we're doing the very best we can. We would appreciate a like and certainly a share, and a subscription would be absolutely wonderful. You deserve it. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about. My gosh. And you're right. With 2 weeks to go to the inauguration, Biden still has to do a State of the Union speech? Yes. Seems like he does. I can't imagine.
I don't remember.
I think he does.
Skip it.
And that probably would not be a bad idea. He did all those pardons, and not just the pardons, but he did the commutations of sentence and took 40 out of 42 people off of death row, has shipped out about a dozen or so from Gitmo. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that.
You did know that. I'm not sure where they went, but
who knows?
We should have just opened the cage and said, boys, there's some boats out there about 100 yards offshore. You just swim on out. And that's after we've chummed the water and let all those guys swim out to their boats. And apparently now that he is, I'm not using the right words, he commuted some of the sentences. A couple of those guys now want full pardons from the president. And by the way, that included murderers and rapists and child rapists. And these guys, frankly, are worth the 32 cents it would take to put a 45 caliber full metal jacket in their brain pan. And most of us would be happy. We would actually pay and bring our own bullet and our own pistol and do that because, What, Greg?
Oh no, I said sign me up.
Right.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And so there is that. And then before we do the next one of these, when we do this next week, we're going to bury Jimmy Carter. And it's really interesting how the news media has done a sucky job on this entire Carter death a week ago, Sunday, through the state funeral, which is happening on Thursday, the 9th. And because they talk about the remains of Jimmy Carter. Yeah, it's his body. I mean, I have no doubt the man's soul is in heaven. And they go, former President Carter. There's only one President Carter. There's not a current President Carter. President Carter remains were moved to Washington, D.C. As we do this on Tuesday night, I believe he is now lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda, which I'm good with. Do I have time, Greg? Do I have time to do my my Jimmy Carter story?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that happens is after you've been on this planet for a certain number of years, more than I can believe, a lot of things happen. In 7th grade, junior high school in Atlanta, Georgia, I put in an application to be a page in the Georgia State Legislature, and they accepted me. And if you know me now, imagine how I was in 7th grade. Oh, my God, I was 12 years old. Mach 3 with my hair on fire. Turned 13 at my 13th birthday at the legislature. Jimmy Carter was a senator from South Georgia, Plains. I had to look on the map and see where Plains was. And there was some serious good old boys with some accents that you just can't. Oh my God! And Jimmy was very, Dan Aykroyd, always thought did a great impression of Jimmy Carter when they started Saturday Night Live. And Jimmy, the senator, was just the senator. Wasn't anybody famous. He was a senator. There are like 40, 50 of them in Atlanta. And it was just one of the guys. And I think there was one woman in the whole thing and maybe one black guy. That's obviously changed in Georgia because that's 60 years ago. And it's, he did not tip, which is okay. At the end of the session, last day of the session, I got sent to the office, got a luggage cart, and brought to the floor of the Senate a cart loaded with 5-pound bags of Carter's peanuts. And before they started that day, me and another page were going every Senate desk, all of the staff, because it's set up like the normal legislative chamber we see, the podium and the desk. And 100 or so these bags of Carter's peanuts. I got a bag of Carter peanuts. I wish I still had the bag. I wished I had in 1976. So there's that. And again, he was just one of the guys. Then he got out of the Senate. 2 years later, he runs for governor. That was 70 to 74. And in 75, I'm working at a radio station in Mobile, and I get a phone call from Jody Powell. And I got a phone message, the pink slip, while you were out. I called Jody Powell back. Yeah, I'm Governor Jimmy Carter of Georgia, and we're going to be coming to Mobile to campaign. This, again, is 75, so he started early. And I went, oh, my gosh. I said, I worked for Senator Carter, and so we go, and there's a kind of a little press scrum, hardly a news conference, just a hello, how you doing thing. And I walked up, and Governor, good to see you. Rob, your page from 8 years ago. He got all excited. Rob, how you doing? And all the other reporters are going, what the heck is going on? And it was just cool. It was just cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just,
very cool.
There was that personal connection. Okay.
Sure.
So
sure.
Now he gets elected in 76. It's now, summer of 79. Summer of 79. The Carter family vacation involves the riverboat going up and down the Mississippi River. And I've just completely blanked in my mind what that riverboat was, but this was the original one.
Well, it's probably either Mississippi Queen or Delta Queen.
Delta Queen. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the press coverage, because they started in Minneapolis, they went to St. Louis 4 or 5 days. and the St. Louis Press Pass. I put in for it. I got it. We carpooled up north of St. Louis, got on the boat about 3 a.m. And he was running. He was doing laps. There's a ballpark right there while we were going through the locks. He is coming down the Mississippi River into St. Louis. I'm a news guy in St. Louis at the time. It's 1979. 3 o'clock in the morning, we get on the Delta Queen up on the north side of St. Louis, and it's got about a 3-4 hour ride to get downtown right by the arch where it pulls in and docks. And it's just magnificent. And so here we are, and we can see the president and the Secret Service guys running around the ballpark right there. I think that's Alton, Illinois, at the Alton Lock and Dam. And we're on the top level. Security screening, dogs sniffed us, the whole bit. I don't have any place to go. We don't have assigned seating. The Secret Service is guarding the Carter family room, and the staffers are all on board. About half the cruise is taken up with all the White House people. No problem. So I'm up there and just enjoying the view, and we're going through the lock and dam. Never done this before, looking around. And I look to my left, and about 5-6 steps over there is the president. A couple of Secret Service guys behind us. Nobody, just relaxing, and had some water and a bottle of water and enjoying the coolness as we moved down. And I turned over and, "Hey, Mr. President." "Hi there." I said, "It's Rob Milford, your old page from about, at this point in time, about 10 years ago." And, "Oh my God, Rob, I haven't seen you since." But yeah, it's like, okay. And it was just really neat. "And what are you doing up here?" I said, "I've been doing radio up here for a couple of years, and everything's fine." I saw Rosalind about 2-3 weeks ago, and when she came to a visit, I'll tell you that story. But that was fine. And he says, "Well, I'm going to get below and get a shower." I said, "Yes, sir. We'll see you later on. Great having you on the boat." And so I've got all my gear on, my recorder, and got a kind of a shoulder bag, and so we go down. There's a press table in the dining room, and I sit down, eating. Tap on my shoulder. It's the Secret Service.
Uh-oh.
The reporters are around this big table, 6 or 8 of them. "The president would like to see you." And the other reporters are going like, "What the hell? What the hell?" And it's like, okay, no problem. So I tootle around to the other side of the dining room.
Right.
They got the nice table. You can look out the back. There's the wheel going around. Just gorgeous. Yeah. Just gorgeous. And I came over, and the president sees me, waves me on in, and goes, "Rosalind, this is Rob, was my page in Atlanta 10 years ago, and now he's doing news up here." And she looked and said, "He's the one that asked me about Amy's violin lessons when she came to visit St. Louis a couple of weeks earlier." The TV guys were lined up, the ABC, CBS, NBC. There was no Fox at the time. And they each got one question. And I was the fourth guy. I was the only radio guy, not a newspaper guy there, just me. And I had done the story about Amy taking violin lessons. And like any parent, any proud parent, it's like I could ask Scott about how your daughter's, what she played, trombone, clarinet, remind me.
French horn.
Close enough. It's closer than first guess with the trombone. So how those French horn lessons coming, Scott? You can give me 3 to 5 minutes without catching a breath, right?
Yep.
There you go. And it's like Greg's kids when they were in school, and I could say, "How the chainsaw and jackhammer lessons coming, Greg?" And he'd say, "Great, they do it in their bedroom every night." But she gave me a longer answer than the other 3 TV stations got combined. That's proud mama. And it was just one of those obscure news things. I went, "Oh, Mrs. Carter is coming. I will go to the airport tonight." It was 10 o'clock. I'm doing morning radio. I got to get up at 4, and I'm driving out to the. And Jimmy Carter looks at me with sort of an eye of astonishment, and Amy looks at me and goes, "Oh God!" And
I bet.
And it's real funny. And we shook it. It was a nice laugh, and that was about it. And Yeah, and it was just, but I'm like on the two-way radio calling into the station every 30 minutes or so. And then we cut to 10 years later. He's now out of the White House, has been out for a couple of cycles. I think that Bush was actually running, and it was 88.
Yeah.
And I'm in Charlotte. And see, I just can't keep a job. They just keep blowing me on down the road. So I'm in Charlotte.
Downtown, up and down the dial.
Exactly. Johnny Fever, I worked with Johnny Fever twice, as a matter of fact. And Habitat for Humanity makes a very big deal out of the fact former President Carter is coming to build a couple of houses in Charlotte. They're on time. I know the TV people are just set up and everything else. And what happens? He gets out of the car. He's in a Chevy Suburban. Even then, they were using Suburbans. I don't know if they had bulletproof glass and up armor and everything else, but that's what it was. I mean, a 4-man security detail, no big deal. And he comes up, and there's such a very low riser, and the mics are all set up, like on a music stand or whatever. And they're waiting for the Habitat people to show up. And I walked up. I said, Mr. President, Rob Milford, your old page. And he jumps down off the platform, and I get the handshake and the embrace. Rob, it's really good to see. I don't get the whole hug thing, but it's really good to see you. And what happens again? The other reporters, like WBT, and they're like, what the hell? This guy knows the president. So it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's 10 years apart, 10 years apart, 10 years. I mean, it's, and I think he's probably the most decent person to ever occupy the Oval Office. A lot of guys have done great stuff there. There's no doubt about it. His record as president was not that great in the overall scheme of things, but you can never say he was a dumb guy. Oh, his degree from the Naval Academy is in nuclear engineering. We never had one of them before. And so he and Thomas Jefferson could have a really good conversation about a lot of stuff. And we all know Thomas Jefferson could write two different things, right-handed, left-handed, at the same time, and it's legible. Unlike Greg Fink, who prints and you can't read it very well. So that was.
As long as he's got a new crayon, he does good.
Well, if you could tell, if he was a Marine, he would be eating the crayons on some story I'm not really familiar with. So this is,
it doesn't exist.
We will cry for him. He will be buried in plains, different than most presidents who are buried at their museums. Okay, most are buried there, but Jimmy will be buried in plains right next to his wife, and I think his mama is in the same cemetery, and brother Billy is over there. One of the guys, who's the District 1 commissioner now, Scott, in Escambia County? Gray hair, mustache. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
District 1. I mean, it's just out of the blue.
That's okay. Hot rod guy. Of course, construction.
No. Not Stroberger did not win. It's Steve Stroberger.
Steve Stroberger, yeah.
Okay, who am I thinking
District 2. No, he's District 2. Isn't he?
District 1, he'd be Jeffrey Gosh.
Jesse Casey is who I was thinking of. Sorry.
Yes, Jesse Casey you're thinking of.
Yeah, he's run and lost. Anyway, he Facebook posting today, it's a 6-pack of Billy beer that he still had, that he got from Billy Carter when he was doing construction work in Plains, Georgia during the Carter administration. Imagine holding on to a 6-pack of beer for, 40, 50 years.
I have a Blue Angel commemorative bottle of Coke.
Right?
That still has the Coca-Cola in it.
Really?
All right.
Now, I'm not going to be drinking that anytime soon, ever. I'm confident that it's expired. But, it is nice to have the bottle there fully intact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there you have it. There's plenty more to talk about, and we're going to do that in part B that's coming up, and we'll break this off for right now. Greg, you're really going to have to shut up in the next half hour because we hardly got a word in edgewise. Okay?
Exactly.
All right. This is the Political Matrix News.